Everybody should be able to see my screen now. Is that okay for everybody? You just raise a hand again. I want to make sure that you can do that. Lovely. That's terrific. Thank you. Okay, that seems to be working beautifully. It does occasionally have a hitch, for which I apologize, but no, it seems to be working beautifully today. Right, I'm just going to reduce my dashboard and we'll get started. Okay, just by way of an introduction and a couple of housekeeping rules rather. My name is Martin Davies. I'm the product owner for Bacpac. Bacpac is supported, made and written by a company called Maiden who write IAPTUS. The IAPTUS product that is used in a large number of mental health practices throughout the UK, and Bacpac is a sort of a less feature-rich version of IAPTUS. Those of you that have come from the NHS will know about IAPTUS, having moved into private practice, so you'll understand what I'm saying. Just a quick note about the patient data that you're going to see on my Bacpac screen. It's all dummy data. There's no real patient identifiable data on there. They're all made up people. So don't worry about any GDPR non-compliance as far as that's concerned. In terms of time, I think we should last for about 45 minutes. I'll try and get through as much as I can in there. I know you guys are very busy and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but please feel free to ask questions as we go along. What I won't do is answer them because there are quite a lot of you on the webinar this morning. It's great to have so many, but it will take up too much time and we won't be able to explore as many of the features as we can if I start answering those. But thank you very much again for attending. Right, just a general point of view, what is Bacpac? Well, Bacpac is a client management application for counsellors and psychological therapists. We also have quite a few psychologists using it as well, and even some speech therapists, but principally it's for counsellors and psychological therapists. It's user-friendly. It helps you focus on your clients because it takes the grind out of day-to-day admin. It helps you manage your contact information, your client contact information, help you with your book appointments, manage your caseload, and also track your finances. It won't enable you to invoice, but it will help you track your finances. You can complete outcome questionnaires. I think there are 8 or 9 within the session sections. Clients can self-refer, and it's really fast and easy to set up. What I'll start on is actually the setup system, or the setup wizard, in just terms of explaining it very briefly, because it is so straightforward, and I'll have to set up an account to demonstrate it. I'm not going to show you that this morning, but it is literally 5 steps. Once you've subscribed, you'll be sent a one-time email and you'll go through that. Those simple steps is literally putting your name, email address and setting a password. That will then set you up on the system and you'll be ready to up and run there. So assuming that you've done the setup wizard, you're ready to kind of kick off and get started inputting patient data and using the application for your practice. Practically all app subscriptions start with a free trial. There are lots of different variations, but they all start with a free trial. It's a really good idea just for you to trial it to make sure that it's for you, really. And that's why we do the 30-day free trial, so you can get to grips with all the features and benefits and work out whether or not it's actually helping you in your practice. So please do take advantage of the free trial should you wish to after this demonstration. Let's get in. Okay, so you've got a setup wizard, you've subscribed, you want to log into Bacpac. You press this button here. You need to have your email open or your mobile phone if you're going to log in, because you're sent a 2-factor authentication code. That's for security reasons. Bacpac is extremely secure. We're registered with the ICO. We're vetted by the BSI twice a year to make sure our standards of data storage are up to scratch. And they have to be, because we work with the NHS and the MOD, and we apply the same criteria and security for Bacpac as we do for our work within the NHS and the MOD. So you can be sure your data's safe with us. Anyway, getting on to logging in, what you'll be presented with is this pop-up menu. Your first time that you log in, you put in your code, your email address here and your password that you have set up in the setup wizard. Press log on and you'll be presented with your authentication code. Your authentication code will be mailed to you. Here's my code here. You literally can either use that link there to go straight back into the system, that this page here I've already told you about, or you can just cut and paste the code from your email. That's the way I always do it. It's the most simple and straightforward way, rather than opening up another tab, which using that link would actually do. Okay, there we are. We're in the code. Sign in. Done. Here we are. Okay, so that's the dashboard that you'll be presented with. I'm going to take you through all of these features down here. Look at caseload and waiting list. We're going to explore what the dashboard looks like. We're going to explore this top menu here, and moreover, and really importantly, the system settings, because they help you in this little cog menu here. They help you set up the system, the application to your requirements. They make it a bit more customizable to your individual needs. Okay, we'll look at that in quite some depth. But before I do that, I'm going to quickly talk about the dashboard. The dashboard is customizable in terms of you can move things about in there. As you can see from mine, I've actually put the things that are most important to me at the top. My diary is really important, and my patient list is very important too. Finances, in terms of tracking that, we'll come into how you do that a little bit later. What you'll be presented with is this at the top of your dashboard when you first join. Now, you can move stuff around on the dashboard literally by grabbing that banner on each of the blocks of information here to customize it. I don't want to see that every time. I perhaps want to see it the first time I log in. It's very nice to know that I'm being welcomed by the application, but that's not important to me. So I actually move that down to the bottom, and that's where it will stay, because these things are more important to me. Now, if seeing how you're doing financially is more important to you, again, you can literally just by dragging that, move that up to the top. It's kind of important to me, but seeing what I've got on for the day and who I've got to see is the most important thing to me. So my calendar is what I'd like to see. You get a default day view, a 2-day view in there. We'll come on to that and look at that a little bit more when we look at this feature here, and how you can set that up and how you can sync it with an external calendar as well, so you don't have to be in the application to see what you've got on as far as appointments are concerned. Just to explain what's here, this is what's new, what we're doing with Bacpac, whether there's any maintenance occurring. It's just a sort of a newsy blog about what we're keeping up with, what user requests we've actually implemented in terms of enhancing the product, because as users of the product, we're very keen to understand what you'd like to see within the product, and we put that in a product backlog and prioritize work based upon what we think is required, and from a security point of view and from a user interface point of view, but we also take into account user requests as well. Okay. Then you've got a news section. Basically, we linked into a news feed here, an RSS feed that brings in news articles that are associated with mental health. You can see here, mental health support service listed for children. It's updated on a daily basis and kept up to date. And our Twitter feed links into that as well. Anything that we're doing on Twitter is also reflected within the application, so you can keep abreast of what we're doing on our Bacpac page in there as well. Bacpac's also, we're also members of a number of counselling Facebook pages as well, and more often than not, we get a Facebook link in here as well. Okay, let's start with this top section here, where you can see my cursor going across. Bacpac, just so that you know, the Bacpac logo is a home button, as well as the logo. It takes you back to the dashboard each time. So if I'm in my calendar, for example, I'm exploring that and I'm looking at setting up appointments, or I'm looking at what I've got on today, and I want to get back to the main dashboard, I click that button. I can either click dashboard here, which would do it, or I can click this button here, and that gets me back into the main side of things, the main dashboard that I use on a daily basis. Quick patient search. If you haven't got time to run through your patient list and you just want to look up somebody, you can just type in the first couple of characters. Say I'm looking for Basil Brush, and I'll type in a couple of characters, and you can see I'm getting put an S in there as well. A number of recommendations. Basil's at the top. He's the guy I want. If I wanted to actually look at him, I just click on him there and I get his patient record up. Now we're going to come into this section. Please don't try and concentrate on what's in this record here, because we'll come onto that and look at it in detail and spend quite a bit of time on that, because it's quite important. Let's go back to the dashboard again. So that's a quick patient. Adding a new patient, we're going to talk about that at some length, because that's basically how you get your system up and running. We'll come on to that a little bit later. Here you can see a little clock with 90 minutes on. That's just there for security, so that if you come into the application and you get distracted and taken away after 90 minutes, it just shuts it down. You can reopen it again, obviously very easily by using the 2-factor authentication, but that's there just as a timeout. So if I hadn't been active in it for the last 2 minutes and I was just talking to you and not showing anything, it would be counting down the minutes to shutting the application down. Okay, a couple of things for help and support before we get into the actual application. You'll see here 2 buttons. These will take you to an external link and an external site. If you have an issue, for example, you can't get into Bacpac, your tokens aren't being emailed to you when you've tried to log in, you can come onto this support log here. This takes you out of the system to what we call our log, and it's a Bacpac support log. If you've got a new request, you literally click that button here, and it'll already auto-populate with your name as the therapist or counsellor that's using the application, and then give you a chance to write in whatever you want. So it might be, I don't know, calendar not working. We're beyond this very quickly. We have a big support team, people who are there ready to read the logs, and they'll get back to you within 3 hours of your log being raised. Literally what you do is type in the nature of the problem in here, in this section around here. You can set the priority, normal or high. Obviously high, it will come to the top of the list. Most people do that automatically. And then after you've done that, set the priority, you just put add, and that will come in. Click that button there, and it will add, and it's going to say, thank you for submitting your request, and you can see that it's gone. Okay, so our people will be wondering what on earth that is when it comes in, but I can explain that to them later. So that's the help. Sorry, that's the support site. If you've got anything going wrong with the application, if you need a bit of help, you go to the help button here. This again will take you to an external link, and it's a site full of tutorials for Bacpac users. Just to quickly, as a memory jog, a whole load of step-by-step tutorials revolving around the various features within the product. I think there are about 33 of them. If you go to, you can see the categories here. I'll just open one of them so that you can see appointment email reminder, how to set that up. There's a little tutorial. Here you can see screen grabs with the actual what you'll be looking at and what you'll need to set up, what you need to press, and a user guide of how to do it in terms of steps. Okay, you can also add a comment at the end if you don't think it's very useful, or if you think it's really useful, or make a suggestion to how you might do it a little bit differently, or improve on it, or how we could improve in helping you do it. Please feel free to fill that in there as well. Okay, so that's the help section. All sorts of subjects are covered on that. You can actually as well, if I come back out of that and go back into the software, if you go into features on the website, there is a YouTube channel with about 11 really helpful videos on each of the features as well, and you get to hear my dulcet tones again, you lucky people, and my excellent colleague Kaylee has done some of these as well, and basically they're just a short tutorial, a bit like the webinar, so it's more of a visual thing, perhaps a bit more understandable than, or a bit more easy to understand than reading through a step-by-step guide. Okay, that's that. Let's get back into the application and start looking at system settings. So the first thing you'd want to do in system settings is, this is, as I say, to enable you to basically tailor the system to your requirements a little bit more. Okay, you're presented with two columns here. So before you start using the application proper, it's a good idea to go in and set these things up. Your user profile is basically the information that you'll have put in when you do the setup wizard. When you join, you can edit all of these. Basically, it's a very, very simple collection or record of who you are, what your password is, your secret answer in case you get locked out of the system. If you ring up and say, I'm locked out of the system, I can't get in, we will ask you for security reasons, that secret answer. The QR code, this basically will help you receive Bacpac information on your mobile phone rather than relying on email notifications for things. It's useful to set up there. Okay, to get back to system settings, you can edit any of those you want to edit. You just press that button there, edit. So I'm going to take out N, for example, there, save, and it'll ask me, tell me that I've successfully saved it. Okay, in terms of subscription, if you are alone or a single practitioner, this will be a very straightforward section for you. If you are, and we have quite a few multi-user practices, then it will appear rather like my system here. Okay, and as an account manager, it's in a multi-user situation, it's always good to have an account manager, somebody who's actually in charge of the other users or has editorial rights over those users, not in charge of them, but in terms of how they appear on here and what editing rights they have within the system. It's always good to have an account manager. To add a new user, it's very, very straightforward. You just click that button here and you get the field up for putting those people in. I'm not going to put one now because we're quite pushed for time. We've got a lot to get through still. So I'm going to cancel that, but you can see how you can add a new user. Manage a payment account. This will take you to the payment interface, which is called Recurly. Again, it takes you out of the system, but basically talks about, it shows you where you are with what's been paid and so on, so you can keep a track of how much your practice is paying, when it's paid, and how many invoices and all that kind of thing, which is useful for somebody who's managing the account. So that's simply that. You can take people off when people leave, or if a new person comes as well, just by pressing the edit button as well. And you can change their what kind of editorial rights they have as well within that section too. Okay. On to calendar, really important. You can customize your calendar and you can invite it and sync it. I mentioned this earlier. You can synchronize it with an external calendar like Google Calendars, Microsoft and Apple via iCal, and we'll talk about how we do that. But first thing to say is that you can customize it in terms of color. I've got my, and you can customize it in terms of patient appointments and non-patient appointments, or client appointments, depending on what terminology you'd like to use, and you can set that up in another section, which I'll come on to shortly. I've got like a purpley color for my patient, and as you can see here, a red one for a non-personal event. So if I go to my diary, you'll see that basically every appointment is one of either of those colors. We'll just go to that now. You can see it might not actually very busy at the moment in terms of my pretend practice, but you can see today and tomorrow I've got a few things in there. A patient appointment with Michael Douglas and a supervision and CBT training episode as well. Okay, let's go back to system settings. So we'll click on our little diamond setting there and go into system settings. Get back to the calendar because I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. Okay, so assuming it's not synced to anything, which it won't be when you first start using the application, you just click that button here to make it available to you. Okay, and what this does will provide you with a link that you need to copy and paste. I'll do this for you. I'll show you how you do it. And I'm going to add it to a Google Calendar as an example. You copy that, see, go into my Google Calendars, and I'm going to add a calendar. Okay. And it says add by URL in Google. It's slightly different in Apple and slightly different again in Microsoft, but that's the link that you need, the URL link. I'm going to click that button. It's presenting me with this field. I'm going to now paste that link into there. I'm going to make it publicly available because I've got other people in my practice that I want to see what I'm doing. And I'm going to add it to the calendar. Now, iCal, for your information, used to do a synchronization every sort of 20 minutes. They've stopped doing that now. It can be up to 15 hours. So when you set your calendar up, please be aware that there will be a time lag before it shows any Bacpac appointments within the calendar. The Bacpac calendar will appear as a very rudimentary entry, purely for the fact that we don't want to be displaying patient identifiable data in a public calendar. So you can actually, it's synced immediately here. So my appointments in Bacpac are in red, so I know that I've got an appointment there, an appointment here, and one bit of training. Well, it doesn't say training for the reasons I've just outlined rather, but you can see that it has synced with it already, and it will do the same with a Microsoft and an Apple calendar as well. Okay, so that's that there. Let's get back to system settings. You can use that button to get back to system settings, or you could do the one I've shown you for the last few times. Okay, finance, really straightforward. Basically, you set a target income here. I've done a per hour charge as £45, and that will, when I enter a client, any new client now, I go up to this button here to add a new patient, that will be the default amount that will be recorded in the client record unless I wish to change it. We might be less complex or more complex treatment depending on how the client's presenting, and you can change that accordingly. You can set your income either monthly or yearly, and I've set mine for £1,500 a month. If you want to do it yearly, you just press that button here and then save the information, and it will save it. So if we go back to, I'll show you how it's represented for you. If we go back to the dashboard, I click the dashboard button. Remember I showed you right at the beginning a graph. Here we are. There's the finance right at the top. And you can see that this is my target income on a monthly basis, and these are the payments that I'm getting because I'm not putting many appointments in my diary. These are the payments I'm getting, and in what date, and how it's tracking relative to that. Obviously, if I'd seen a lot more people, that blue line would be closer up there or exceeding, hopefully, given that the practice is doing quite well. Okay, so that's how that's recorded. As I've said already, it doesn't enable you to invoice the system. It just enables you to track payments by entering within the client record whether a client has paid you, not how much they paid you, and so on. So it keeps a track of that. You can often marry that up with any spreadsheet that you might be using at the time, or any other finance system as well. Okay, let's get back into system settings and finish that section off because time is romping on. So that's fine. It's an organization. Again, this is very similar to the user profile. If you're an organization with a number of users, it's just basically your address details at the end of the day. So it's where you practice from. And again, there's an edit function on that. You can go in into any of these fields and change that and just press save if you have changed those. But it's basic information for your own records. Logo. Now I've just loaded up a Twitter logo here, but it's very, very straightforward to do. If you have a logo for your practice, you can put it in this section here and it will populate two items within the application. One, the email reminder that goes out to clients 24 hours before their appointment is due. And secondly, the self-referral form. If you want people to self-refer and you have a website, you can set up and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. It'll feature on there as well, so that the self-referral form will be personalized to your practice. Okay, but literally, you just from your desktop. I'm not going to. I've already loaded one, so it won't let me do another. You can only load one logo. Literally grab something and then drag it into there like that, and it says drop files here to upload, and that's what would happen. And then that piece of work is done. Okay, back to system settings and on to self-referrals. It's quite important and very interesting. At the moment, before I get into that, I'm just going to let you draw your attention to this tab here. This shows you the self-referrals that you have waiting at the moment. And when I do one in a minute, you'll see that number will go up by 2. It takes about 15 minutes to propagate the referral from the web to the application, but you will get a notification in the application, not via email, in the application on this dashboard here, that a self-referral has arrived. So let's have a look at that. Say, for example, you have a website and you do want people to refer from it. You can set yourself up, put a bit of content on your website that says you're able to self-refer yourself here. Click on this link and it will take you to the self-referral form. To enable that to happen, if you would like to do that on your website, you click that button here and it says quite clearly in green, you're accepting self-referrals. In here, you can write your copy, any copy you want. I put this copy in here with my opening hours and the fact that if I'm not available, there's some other numbers you can call. That will feature at the top of your self-referral form. Then what you need to do is put your website web address in here so that when people come out of the self-referral form, it will take them back to your website. I don't actually personally have a website, so I put the Samaritan's website in there. But so when the people come out of the self-referral form, they'll go back there, but they should be going back to your website. This is the form that you need to copy and paste. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to show you in a new tab what the form looks like. So somebody on your website has clicked in. This is the form they get. So you can see this silly Twitter logo I put at the top here. Obviously, that will be your practice logo. A bit of copy I mentioned at the top is featuring there. These people will fill in this form. I'm going to fill it in now very, very quickly. I'm going to do it to autofill so that we save a bit of time. Message is, I'm just going to put hello in there, but that would be a message from the person who's referring themselves. The type, please select a value type, how they got in contact. It's home there, the capture to prove you're not a robot and spamming, and I'm going to submit it. Okay, lovely. Now it's submitted because I know it's submitted because it's taken me back to the website. As I say, this would be your website because you'd have put your own web address in there. Let's go back to the application. Now, in a few minutes' time, that should say number 3. Okay, fine, right. Living will. If for some unknown reason or for an awful reason you're not able to attend your practice through illness, through a long holiday or whatever, you may want to nominate somebody to have limited access to your patient data because people might want to be in touch whilst you're away with at least somebody. To activate this facility, we're calling it a living will, you just click that button here, rather like you did with the self-referrals, and fill in the forms here. Basically, there's a declaration that you'd agree with the person that you've nominated. There's a secret question that you'd set, and whenever the person who you've nominated rings up to say, yes, I need to have access to to limited client data, we would actually ask them the answer to that question so that they could have access. So that's there just in case you're inadvertently kept away from your practice for any particular period of time. You can nominate that person to get in touch with your patients and let them know if you haven't done so, or take care of anything that's there. Custom fields, basically you can edit and drop and add various things to the number of fields within in the forms within the application. So in terms of location, in terms of your organization, you can add stuff. You can see this is mine here. I can actually disable those if I don't want that. I can actually add a location for add an additional location. So if I'm operating out of, I'm operating out of these two here. If I wanted to, I was operating out of 3 different offices. I can add that in there as well. In terms of intervention type, these are the typical ones that we've got within the system, but you can add your own. If you're practicing in a different area, you literally type it in here. There's already CBT in there, but I'm going to CBT again, and I just press add, and it will add it to the system. So there it is at the bottom. Now you can delete those if you're doing more brief focus solutions than anything else, and you want that to be the priority within the form, because that's the thing you do. Just press that button and it goes to the top, and you can you can deprioritize by using these buttons here. Okay, and it's the same with the stage of therapy, and the same with the type of condition that's being presented as well. You can disable any of these, add to them, or delete them as necessary. Back to system settings. We're onto synonyms. Again, what you can do, different words that are used for the same kind of, for the same meaning. So case and treatment, for example, session and contact, client and patient. You can choose what you want to use or add additional ones, and they will feature in the wording within the application, so it's suited to the terminology that you're used to using. Very straightforward. Now, templates. There's only one template within the application at the moment, and that is other than the already established form that you fill in for the self-referral, and that's the email reminder. You can customize it, of course, by clicking this button here now and using these titles here to fill in the detail around here, so that we know that when an email goes out, it's going to say, dear patient first name, patient last name, just to add anything in here. So let's take that one out and put it in again just to show you how it works. Now, if I want the full name in there, it's just patient name, first name at the moment. I want the last name as well. Just click that and you can see that it's got the last name. You write your own copy in there and save it, and that is the text that will appear, again with the organization logo, that's organization name there, or logo. It will feature in the email reminder that goes out to each client 24 hours before their appointment. Okay, there we have it. That's that system settings. Having gone through that, you'll have the system kind of customized to the way that you want it. Let's look at, let's get out of this, back to the dashboard, and let's look at the adding a new patient. But look, first of all, I've got 3 referrals in there. I filled it in as Martin Davies. If we go in and have a look, and we'll do this in a bit more depth in a minute, what happens is that it says there's a referral that was received today, and it gives me any close matching names that have gone, because I've done this a few times. I've put in Martin Davies for quickness a few times. It's given me a lot of matches, so that you can make sure that it's not somebody who you've already treating or have treated in the past to save you entering another client record. Just gives you those matches. If it's not somebody you've had before, you can create a new patient, or you can ignore it by pressing this button here if it is somebody that you've already looked at. So, okay. Let's get on to adding a new patient. Say somebody has referred themselves, or somebody's phoned the office and you want to add them to your system, add them to your whatever processes you have. If you've got a way of identifying different clients, you might want to put that in there. I'm going to leave that for the minute. I'm just going to make this client up. First name, all the required fields. His name's Tom. I'm going to put his last name as Mouse. His name is Tommy. It's male. He was born on 17th. Making quite an old mouse for a mouse anyway. Okay, so that's that. Fill in all those dates there, his birth date, his gender, and there's just, if you've got some history, it's been handed from the GP, or you've handed some notes, you can actually write this stuff in here. I'm just going to, for quickness, presenting mild anxiety. but you can fill in as much as you like in there, as much as you feel you need for the initial referral. Whether you want to allow email reminders for this particular client, having I'd say it's a great idea to do that. You need to put an email address in there. They need to put their contact details or their address in here, and what kind of method that is okay for you to leave a message. I'm just going to tick home telephone as that. Preferred way to contact, again, home telephone. And these are completely voluntary, but how did you hear about us? You can see the types of field here via an internet friend, referral from a doctor, BACP directory, where you may or may not be listed, or other directories. I'm just going to put internet because they've seen your website. It's a great feature, a GP lookup. If you've got a lookup, it's only for England at the moment. We are looking to expand it into Wales and Scotland. Basically, all you need to do is type in a few characters and it will present you with a whole load of options for you to fill in. I'm just going to do a very generic one so we can see the kind of thing we get up. Surgery. So you can see there's loads and loads of surgeries there because lots of doctors' practices have got the word so understandably surgery in their title. I'm going to connect the Selby Road one, and then I click this button here, and all the GPs that work in Selby Road are listed here. I'm just going to select that here. Okay, there's a next of kin button. You can designate a next of kin person for them, information about their demographics. Okay, that's it. I'm going to save that person. Right, okay, so now I have a new client, Tom Mouse. Now nothing is going to happen to that client unless I add a treatment. Okay, it's not going to be added to my patient list, my waiting list, or anything. It's just going to sit there in the application without anything happening to him. So I'm going to add a treatment, or a period of treatment that I have set up for treating the condition that is presenting within that particular patient. So I'll do that. It auto-populates it, as I said, with the cost here, your hourly rate. I've just put a date the referral was received. All of these, again, have to be filled in for it to be registered, and you can put in any referral notes that you may want in here. You can keep going for as long as you want. Referral ID, again, that's something that you may have attributed. Now, this is the all-important button. I'm going to add Tom Mouse to my waiting list. I'm going to click Save, and here you can see the start of a patient record. Let's just go in to make sure he's in my waiting list. Here's my waiting list. Here we go. Tom Mouse, he's not been there any days at all, so I need, he's there, I know he is. Now, if I go to my waiting list, that's just a snapshot view of waiting list and caseload. If I go to my waiting list here, I can see him down here, and I got a chance to move him to my caseload. I am going to move him to my caseload, and now, as if by magic, Tom Mouse is there. Okay, and here he is. Now let's use this section to quickly look at a number of things within a patient record, the kind of thing that you get. This is what you'll be presenting with in terms of the boarding card, very basic information in terms of the patient and the treatment. Just click on these arrows here to download those. A summary of their basic contact details, any details, more full detail there, what we've written down. It's auto-filled it. And then the kind of treatments that he's had. There's one case open. If I wanted to print the treatment, so you're often going to get, with GDPR, you're often going to get clients wanting some information on themselves. If it's just the notes that you want, you can actually print the treatment, and it will give you, I haven't actually set up anything because it's a brand new client, but you actually get the option to select which one, all the notes that you want to print, which is quite useful. You can also do an export, which I didn't cover. I must come back to that. But let's concentrate on this for a moment. Here you can see on the patient record these buttons here. These buttons here enable you to see the various things that are associated with your client record. So the various sessions that are attended, those are the actual meetings that you have with your client, any future sessions that are booked in the diary, any uploaded documents, maybe uploads, it's not just documents, it may be video clips, images, that sort of thing that relate to the treatment that you're having, and any any other notes that you may have that will be brought into the record that will be of use to you. Okay, now you can switch those on and off. I can actually choose a much bigger client with lots of activity on them. This is Binky Bear. as you can see, there are loads of sessions and lots of things that have happened there. We've had lots of uploads, we've had lots of sessions, and within those sessions, we have had questionnaires filled in. We've also got some, have we got a future session? It's past, no, we haven't got a future session, but if I'd booked a diary, a calendar day in for Binky Bear for tomorrow, for example, you would actually see that there would be one of those orange lozenges in this record here. Now, if, for example, I don't want to see any of the uploads, I can just switch uploads off. I don't get any uploads. If I want to see that again, I just press that and in they come again. If I don't want to see any sessions, that'll leave that pretty bare, then I can do that as well. Okay, so I want to see those sessions. Let's look at a session. When you add a session to a client, I'm going to show you an existing one. You can see that there are questionnaires that have been filled in there. Now, when you fill in a session either during the time that you're talking to a client or afterwards, of course, and you make the notes in there. And any questionnaires that you want to add, you literally just press that button there, add questionnaire, and you'll get the answers to fill in, and that will add that to the client record. Okay, but I want to add another session to this person. This is the information that you'll get. The basic information, it would automatically default to the time that you're adding that session. And in here, you can put whether they attended or not, the type of intervention that you went through, the session charge, it's actually £40 there. I can up that. The type, the method of therapy, the contact used, and so on. You just press save, and that will add another one of these green lozenges in to show you how to represent the session that you've just had. Okay, I'm going to get into the calendar, because that's quite an important thing. Calendar's really, really straightforward to use. You can either book an appointment in terms of a session with a client, or if somebody rings up and you've got the calendar and you want to book them in an appointment immediately, you just click on the day that you want. Say, for example, it's this Friday. The day that you're in, by the way, is always highlighted in a cream color. I'm going to book an appointment Friday. Just click the button there, and it basically gives me an option, this pop-up menu, to book the appointment in. I think it's going to be for Binky Bear. So I'm going to make it a patient appointment. It could be a non-patient, and it will record it as that, but I want it to be a patient. The headline is 24th session. For quickness, it's going to happen at 9 o'clock on Friday. Now, a quick patient lookup, I can just type in a couple of characters. As you can see there, that's Binky Bear, and there she is. The format, I'm going to have it as a face-to-face. I'm going to have it at my office, so you can choose the location. You can put a brief description in there. Emails enabled, and I'm going to press save, and you can see that Binky Bear is in there. Now, what's great is that will be represented as a future session within the client record. Now, I can go to the appointment within the record, and you'll see down here it is. It's an orange future session, and I can select any of those questionnaires and add them either during or afterwards. Okay. Right, I'll just quickly show you these. Find patients is exactly the same as this session here, this lozenge here. If you click find patients, it gives you a very quick way to find people. You can filter. Again, I'm going to search for good old Binky Bear because it's somebody I use all the time. And it's just going to throw up. Yeah, and there she is down there. For any of the patients, just put in the first name or last name or whatever you want to filter on and search for it. You'll get them there. Waiting lists I've talked about. We've just moved people to a caseload here, and this person's been here for 84 days. Actually, Michael ought to go into my caseload. Again, you'll see Michael is added. There he is. Having had spent 84 days on my waiting list, which is not ideal. Referrals I've shown you. This is the new referral. Because it's somebody that's already, it's another Martin Davies, I'm going to ignore it by pressing that button here, and I'll actually get a warning. It says, are you sure you want to ignore that? Are you sure that it's a definite patient match for somebody that you've seen before? And of course, you'll have checked or not checked and press the button. If I've checked, I am sure I press yes. If not, I would have cancelled it. And you can see that referrals have gone back to 2. Address book is every person, organisation that I deal with can be listed in here. Very straightforward and simple information. Most of these, as I say, are supervisors. Got an edit function on those. And that's a very straightforward, a bit like any normal address book, but an electronic one. The calendar we have talked about. I just want to talk a little bit more about that. Is that you can actually move things by dragging and dropping. So if Binky rings up and says, actually, I can't do the 18th, could I do it the following Friday? You can literally just move that appointment down there, and that will be reflected in the client record as well as a future appointment for the 25th rather than the 18th. Okay. That's very useful. Supervision enables you to track the supervision sessions that you will have had in the calendar, and you can add a session here. By clicking that button there, it'll set up the date in the calendar if it's a future one, and also record it as a past one. You can put any notes from that supervision in there. You can select your role as a supervisor or supervisee, who the person is, depending on the role that you're doing. Fulfilling within that session, and so on and so forth. There's a good record of all of the supervision sessions for you and any people in your practice or any people that you're mentoring. Okay, I think pretty much we are done on our demonstration. One thing I didn't show you, which I did say I'd like to go back to, and it's quite important, particularly given GDPR rules, is going to system settings. A lot of people, there's no reporting functionality as such within Bacpac, but you can use the export button here, which will export every bit of data that you have ever input into the system out for you, so you can do some analysis for yourself. It's also another way of extracting data records for a client if they've requested to have the information sent to them. I've got a little user guide that I'm going to send out about how to do that using this spreadsheet. It's reasonably straightforward. I'm happy to share that with folk, and I will be sharing it as part of a video as well, which will be added to the YouTube, but also share it via our Bacpac blog as well. So export the data. What happens when you press that? It will give you a CSV file, and that's the one to really go for. This individual documents is the information is in lots of different files, and it's reasonably complicated. The export data in terms of the CSV, or in this case, sorry, an Excel spreadsheet, is really useful. So I'm going to export data. Here it comes. Right. Okay. So this is the type of data that you'll get, and the thing to look at here and concentrate on is all in chronological order. You can order it how you want, though. In terms of the session, or the contact, the actual meeting that you had, it's done via patient and date, but you can order it in terms of, if you're looking for everything you've ever done with Bugs Bunny, you've got to select a column first, then sort A to Z, and it's telling me that if I just do that, this information out here will not be in sync with it, but I want it to be, so I'm going to say sort. So everything for Binky Bear now, all the data that has ever been collected on Binky Bear is there, so if they ask for it, I can cut and paste right the way across. All the associated notes, you can see I've not filled in many. When they were seen, what questionnaires they filled in, all the rest of it is there. Diary of events lists exactly the same, but via using different, that just lists the appointments that were and who was involved in those points for what client, what therapist, and so on. Personal events is just anything to do with CPD, medical, or that kind of thing. Treatment per client, what questionnaire they filled in, what type of practice you were using, and so on and so forth. The questionnaires they filled in, and so on. So it's a really useful bit of data to export. Okay, we have gone on for 50 minutes. Let me just close that, and thank you all very much for attending. Please do ask questions. We did romp through an awful lot there. If you're unsure about anything you think, please have a look at the videos on YouTube. That would be great. They're very, very informative, but please do ask questions, and I'll answer them in the next 24 hours because there are rather a lot of you on this webinar. Thank you again very much for your time, and I hope that you found it useful. Please feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much.